All right. Hi, my name is Kyle, and I'm going to show you how to use IDLE to program in Python. All right. Now, the first thing you want to do, if you are on one of the school machines, then it should already be installed for you. But if you do not have that, then you're going to want to download it for yourself. So first, let's do that real quick. So I'm going to run Firefox, and then I'm going to go to python.org. And there's the downloads option. I'm just going to click right on that. It brings me to the download page, and I can click the big happy yellow button. Download Python 3.9.3. This should get us started into the download process for you. Your download and installation process is going to be different from mine. That's fine. Also, if the number isn't 3.9.3, that's reasonable. For my classes, I'm teaching Python 3, so you want to make sure you get Python 3 point whatever the most recent thing is. If you're taking a class using Python 2, then you can do that instead, but for my classes, we're using Python 3. Great, so grab that, download it, and then follow the instructions. I've already got it installed, so I don't need to finish the instructions. Great. All right. So once you have that downloaded and installed, then you can run it. So we're going to do that. Great. So here we go. So here's the, when you run it, you're going to get something open called the Python shell. And in class, I refer to this as interactive mode. This is sort of where we can, we can write commands and see what Python spits out. So we can do basic arithmetic stuff. So I can say stuff like 3.9 and Python says that's 12. So anytime I don't have an assignment here and I have a result that, a line of code that results in a value and evaluates to some kind of value, then it prints that out on the next line. Okay, great. So I can do 3 plus 9. I can save that as a variable if I want. So I can say x equals 3 plus 9, and now x is 12. Notice that assignment statement didn't print anything out because that's not a value. It's just an assignment statement. It's not resulting in anything. Okay, and I can also say print x to get the same thing. And I can have more complicated expressions, of course. So I could say like 3 plus 3 squared plus, or let's say times 4 plus 2. Put that in parentheses, and it'll print out that value. Okay, great. Obviously, that last one is going to be different if I get rid of those parentheses. So you can get previous lines of code by hitting Alt-P. That gets you to the next one. I'm holding Alt down right now. If I hit P again, it'll take me to the one previous to that, and so on and so forth. And I can hit N to go backwards. So P for previous, N for next. Okay, so I can go to this, and then I can modify and get rid of those parentheses. And now I get a different number. Great. I can also use, if I want to take a square root of something, I want to use the built-in square root function in the math package. So first I'm going to import math. And then I can say math.square root of 9, and that's equal to 3.0. Great. So we're going to create our own function. I'm going to show you how to do that, and a few other things, include using script mode. So we're going to create our own function, then we're going to call it. We're going to do a few things there. So something very simple. Let's call it print square root. So I'm going to say def print square root. And my parameter is going to be x. All right. If you're like in the first week of class, in my class, we don't even use parameters yet, so it's just going to be open close parentheses. But here's an example with a parameter x. All right. Now, because I ended that line with a colon, because I'm defining a function that's part of a compound statement, it doesn't give me the chevron. It doesn't give me the 3 carets here. All right, that's because it's indented this. It's waiting for me to put something in the body of that statement. So I'm going to add a doc string here. Print, I can spell, prints the square root of the input. Okay. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to do this in 2 lines. I know that I could do it in 1, but I'm going to do it in 2. So y equals math dot square root of x, and then print. The answer is y. Okay. And now that I have a blank line, if I hit enter again, which I'm going to do, it takes me back to the chevron. It says, okay, you must have completed that composite statement. Great. Okay. So let's try it out now. Let's call our function that we just defined. I'm going to print square root of 9, and that says the answer is 3. And now you say, Kyle, that is not a very explanatory statement. So I say, okay, you're right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix it so it actually tells me what I've taken the square root of. So to do that, I'm going to redefine my function. Print square root prints the square root of the input. Y equals math dot square root of x. And print the square root of, then I'm going to include that input there is y. Okay, and now let's try it again. So I'm going to say print square root of 9. And that says the square root of 9 is 3.0. Outstanding. All right, now that was a little bit annoying for me to go back and rewrite that whole function. I could have done Alt-P and been a little bit more sneaky there, but it was still very annoying. I had to go do that. It's much easier for us to put our functions into scripts. So let's see how to do that really quick. So I'm going to say File, New File, because I haven't created a file yet. Normally, once I've created my file, I can go to Open to open it up. But I'm going to say New File. And I'm going to save it first. Save As. And I already made a little folder for this, Python. And in my class, I asked the students to save it as their username _ projects.py. So I'm going to do that. So KGB1013 _ projects. Okay, there it is. All right. And now when we create, now one thing I want to point out, over here now, this window, I call this script mode. I call this interactive mode. This over here is script mode. Okay, so this is where I'm actually going to be writing the files that I'm going to run. All right, let's do it. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a doc string, Kyle's functions. Great. That's good enough for now. We can add more later. And then I'm going to add my print square root. So def print square root of x, and I could copy paste. Prints the square root of the input. I often find that it is better I can't type and talk different things at the same time. So I generally find it's better for me to retype things while I'm doing instruction. It's easier to follow on. The square root of x is y. All right, there we go. Very simple. And then I'm going to save this, and I can run it with F5. So I could also go up here and hit the run button and then choose to run the module. Like I could do that. If I hit Python shell, I think it creates a new shell. Generally don't want to do it, but I could do run module. Okay, but you could also just hit F5. That's the hotkey. And then it comes back over here and it says it's restarted. So it's forgotten everything I've done up there, and it's just essentially run this code as though it were in here. So now let's try again. I'm going to run print square root of 9, and I'm going to test it to see if it works. Okay, so now again I'm going to hold Alt and hit P to go to my last line, and I'm going to hit Enter so we can all watch it break. And it says, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what math is. And I say, aha! That's because I'm using the math package. And I imported it, but then when I restarted it, it forgot about all the things it had imported. So I need to make sure I import it. Usually, it's common to put your import statements near the top. So I put it kind of after the doc string, but before any other code. Okay. So there we go. Save it and run it again. You can see it restarted itself down here. Alt-P. Let's try running print square root of 9 again. It says the square root of 9 is 3.0. Excellent. And we should of course test this with some other values. The square root of 16 is 4.0. Probably a good idea to check it with 0. Excellent, 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 excellent. All right. Now, if I create multiple functions, I might want to run all these tests at the same time. So in my class, I teach my students to write their own tests. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to create another function down here called run tests. Okay, and it's not going to take any parameters. All right, so then we're going to test out this print square root thing. All right. So I should put a doc string in here. Oops. Tests. Tests the functions. Good. All right, and then I'm going to write print testing print square root. Okay, and then I'm also going to write what exactly I'm testing. So print square root of 9. Okay. Great. And then I'm going to say print. What am I expecting this to do? Well, it should output the square root of 9 is 3.0. All right, that's what I'm expecting it to output. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do in this next line is I'm going to say the actual output, and I'm using the word should and actual on purpose because they're both 6 characters. So now it's going to come out even, and then I'm going to close my quotes here, and I'm going to add an optional parameter to my print function end, and it's going to be the empty string. That means normally when you end at the end of a print statement, it prints a new line. Here I'm telling it, don't do that. I don't want a new line. I want to stay on the same line, and I don't want any extra spaces. All right, and then I'm going to call my print square root function, print square root of 9. All right. Okay, and then I'm going to put an extra line after that just to give myself some space. All right, so I'm going to save this, F5 it, come over here, and then I'm going to say run my tests. And this says testing print square root of 9. It should output the square root of 9 is 3.0, and it actually outputs, that is exactly what it actually outputs. It does the right thing. That's what I wanted. And this is so easy to check because I can just look to see that those characters are the same. If there's something wrong in there, I will notice it pretty quick, hopefully. Great, great. All right, so let's just add another test here real quick. So I'm still testing print square root, so I don't need to copy that, but I'm going to add, instead of 9, let's just try 0. Zeros are generally a good thing to test. And I'm expecting that the square root of 0 is going to be 0.0. Okay, print square root of 0. And then let's save it. F5 to run it. Come back over here and type run tests. Great. And look at both of my tests come out to be what I'm looking for. All right. Excellent, excellent. Now, the reason I'm doing a printing function here instead of a fruitful function, a function that returns something, is because this is how I start off in my class with lots of printing, and we get to fruitful things later. So I want to show this. All right, great. Let's do one more function in here. So I'm going to add def print add 5. Okay, and this prints the result of adding 5 to the input. Oops, got to use the same kind of quotes. Okay, and I can do this all in one line. I can say 5 plus x is, and then in parentheses I'm going to say 5 plus x. I don't need parentheses there, but I'm doing it anyways. Okay. Let's use the word equals instead to mix it up a little bit. Okay. Great, and that's going to print the whole thing. Save it and run it. And now over here, let's say print, add. And now one neat thing we can do here is there are no other functions that start with print and add, so I can hit tab here, and it automatically completes that. It says, oh, I know the next thing is going to be 5. So that's it. In fact, print underscore a is probably there's probably nothing else starting with that, so if I hit tab there, it'll say, oh, print add 5 is the only thing that starts with that, and it will give that to me. So let's print add 5, and let's give it 5. It says 5 plus 5 equals 10. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to add my test, just like I did before. I'm going to add some more tests in here. Print, testing, print, add 5. Okay, and then print, add 5, and I'm going to give it 5. Okay, and get out of there, helpful thing. Print should output 5 plus 5 equals 10, and print actual output, and you gotta put a space in there. Okay, and then print add 5. Okay, and one of the reasons, and I'm gonna give an extra space in here before it starts this new function, just because. All right, F5 that. Okay, and then Alt P, and I'm gonna go back to run tests, and those two things are equal. Now, the important thing is I'm not, when you're doing this for actual class problems, the should output part should come from whatever the code should output, usually in the examples I provide. If I don't provide any examples, then you've got to come up with it. But this needs to match that. You shouldn't write this based on what your code is doing. You should figure out what it should equal first before you do that. Good. All right. And then let's add another case for this. Let's do a negative one. So add 5, let's give it negative 10. And 5 plus negative 10 equals negative 5. And then let's see what actually happens. So I gotta remember to save it. F5 it, come back over here, Alt P. Gosh, I wish I could just hit up. And those came out the same. Great. So I'd be feeling really good about this. Now, one thing to notice is that these tests are going to, once you get things working, these tests are going to take up a lot of space and might kind of get in your way. I recommend that my students organize them by project or things like that. But even then, you might want to get rid of them so they don't print out over here. One thing you can do is you can just delete them when they're working. I do not recommend that, because even if you think they're working, when I test them, I might find a bug, and you might be like, oh, I wish I still had all those tests so I could go back and see what was going on. Another solution is that you can comment them out. And what that means is if I am pretty confident this one is working, I think it's formats, I can click comment out region, Control D, and that'll put two hashtags, 2 pound signs, 2 octothorpes in front of each line. Okay? That's one way to solve that. But I'm going to do something even a little bit different. So I'm going to uncomment the region. Boom. Great. And instead I'm going to create a new function. Def run old tests. Runs the tests for functions I thought were all working. Okay, and so let's say if I know that testing print square root is working, then I can just take this here. I can go to cut, so Control X, and then go down here, Control V or Command V, if you know, Command X and Command V if you're on a Mac, and paste it down here. And now it's run. I've saved that. It's in run old test, but I don't have to run that. So there we go. Now if I run tests, it just gives me the print add 5 tests. There is kind of a sneaky thing you can do to get it to automatically run this run tests whenever you rerun the file here. It's weird though and confusing. So I'm not. If you want to show it to me, you can come and ask in lab. I'm not going to show it right now, but it's kind of neat. I don't want to throw that out there for anybody. Great. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this is helpful for you, and enjoy programming in Python.